historically, the University of the Witwatersrand in South Africa, and then 2 universities in Nigeria, University of Ibadan and the Obafemi Awolowo University in Ife. We also have African research centers that are listed at the bottom, the African Population Health Research Center, the Agincourt Population and Health Unit, the Ifukara Health Institute in Tanzania, and the Kemri Wellcome Trust Research Program in Kenya. And a lot of non-African partners who are really important in our program in many ways. But I think what's good about our program is that we're important to them in many ways too. CARTA is an Africa-based, Africa-led initiatives to strengthen African universities' capacity to lead research in Africa. And part of what we do is train the staff of African institutions to get PhDs. But we always tell them getting a PhD is a byproduct of being in the program. It's much bigger than that. And we spend a lot of time with our graduates post-graduation as well. We see this as a 20-year program minimum because that's how long it takes to develop capacity. And we've enrolled 228 PhD fellows, over half of whom have graduated. And we started bringing them in 2011, and we've had 10 intakes thus far. And then just to give you a little bit of background, because some of understanding what people are going to be talking about is when we do the PhD training, in addition to being registered in your discipline at one of the African universities, either your own or another university that's part of the consortium, CARTA collectively, and collectively I mean that all the staff from all our universities and our research centers have got together and developed a curriculum that we offer as a joint advanced seminars, and they happen in month 1, 8, 25, and 30 of the experience of being a CARTA fellow. And they are very specifically focused around very specific areas to lead people through their PhD program and to make sure that we have high quality PhDs at the end. And they're residential. We all get together in one place, usually for a month. During the COVID period, we've done it a bit differently, and we've brought people together in country for part of the period, and part of it we've done online. And that's as much as I want to say about the program right now. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is to go from participant to participant and ask them to introduce themselves. And I'll just say that just before we went on air, Stephen Wandera from the University of Makerere in Uganda called in to say that his child was ill and that he had a personal emergency and he had to go and take care of his child. So he's unfortunately not joining us, and it was too late to find a replacement within 15 or 20 minutes. And so we accepted his apology. We understand that childcare does get in our way. Well, it's part of our lives. So I'll start off with Marcelina. Marcelina, briefly tell us just a bit about yourself and a little bit about your engagement with the program.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you, everybody. Lovely to be here. I'm Marcelina Ijadwala from Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria. I am currently Associate Professor of Public Health in the Department of Community Health here on campus. I teach students at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. My CARTA journey started in 2015, and I graduated PhD in 2019, precisely in November. And it's been a wonderful journey, and I'm glad to be a CARTA product and currently a product of the product. So thank you so much, Sharon.
Great, Marcelina, and thanks for joining us. John, give us a bit of your background.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, from wherever you are watching us from. My name is Ayodele John Alunge. Presently, I'm a lecturer at the Department of Library, Archival, and Information Studies, University of Ibadan. As a lecturer, I teach, I do research.
Ooh, John, you've put your mute on.
Okay, as a lecturer, I involve in teaching, I do research, and also involved in community service. I joined CARTA in 2014 under the cohort 4. I had the privilege to do my PhD in journalism at the University of Nairobi, where I worked on communication, health communication, looking at HIV and AIDS. Over the years, I've gained a lot from CARTA. Thank you very much, Sharon.
Thanks, John. And Rose, one of our inaugural first ever cohort 1 fellows. Rose, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
Thank you very much, Sharon. My name is Rose Opio from the University of Nairobi. I'm a public health nutrition lecturer and researcher in the Department of Public and Global Health. As Sharon has said, I was in the first cohort of the CARTA PhD fellowship in 2011, and I graduated in 2015. And my research was a public health nutrition topic on fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids, and depression among HIV positive pregnant women. And this was a randomized double-blind control trial. After completing my PhD, I was lucky again. CARTA awarded me a re-entry research grant that allowed me to continue with research and to sharpen my research skills. And to that, I really appreciate CARTA because my research output has really improved since I joined CARTA in since my graduation in 2015. Thank you.
Rose, let me stay with you once we're there. What did you think when all of us were invited to sit on a gender panel and talk about gender and CARTA? What was your response? What was the first thing that came to your mind?
Thank you very much, Sharon. For me, I was excited and I did not have to think very hard for a reason because already I had several reasons to celebrate being a CARTA graduate as a woman, not just as a woman, but as a mature woman. And for one, my own early childhood experiences actually are related to experiences as a girl shaped my desire to do a PhD. And I thought this was very important that I should be in this panel so that I can encourage other women who are giving up so that they can be able to complete their PhD. Because after completing my primary education, my mom could not afford high school education for me. And my uncles who had taken my dad's property after my dad passed on, they were only interested in dowry. They were not interested in seeing me going to school. And actually, one of my cousins said on my face that a girl is just but a wild animal who should get married and not even think about school because you'll just be wasting money. After all, she is going to get pregnant even before completing the high school. So why waste the money? So for me, that was real motivation. And I promised my mom, I will read until I cannot read anymore. So that was really a motivation for me. And then secondly, I enrolled for PhD as a married, mature woman, a mother of teenagers, and working at the University of Nairobi. And for me, that was actually too much for a woman to concentrate on her studies and be able to complete on time the way I did, because my children needed my attention. My husband needed my attention. work, I had to work because I needed a salary. Because if I didn't work, then if I didn't get a full-time employment, it meant that my salary was going to be slashed. So I needed my full salary so that I could pay the loans and be able to meet my financial obligations. And so I had to work extra hard on my PhD work. Most of the time I worked very early in the morning between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock before these classes start. And then after 5, I would stay in the office until about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And for sure, my car was always the last in the car park. And my husband sometimes was not amused, and he made some very nasty comments. And to me, these comments, they only encouraged me. They didn't discourage me, but they rather encouraged me to work hard and make sure that I complete my PhD. And so I thought I should be able to share this with those my fellow women who are trying to give up either with their master's program or their PhD program, or they think because they are women, they are mothers, and they're working at the same time, they cannot be able to do a PhD. Thank you.
Thanks, Rose. John, how about you? What did you think when people said we're having a panel to discuss gender? What was your response? John, you're still on mute. John?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, right. I have some challenges with my network. As a result, I will not be showing my video for now. Well, if the same question you asked the last speaker, well, when
Yes.
when I was invited to speak or to be part of this panel about gender, sincerely, I felt somehow, but later I believe that, well, as an academic and also a CARTA graduate, I believe that I have big responsibility to promote gender. Through CARTA program over 4 years, on the program, from just one, which joint advanced seminars, to the end, we discussed a lot of things about gender and how we should promote gender equality. That is, we should be equal. Things should be done in a proper way. So with that, when I was invited, I believe that, I need to speak on this and also to share my experience, about this. Actually, also, when I joined CARTA, I'm a married man. I have a family. There's a lot of things which I left behind at home. And because of CARTA, I was able to concentrate, even to visit Nigeria when I was doing my PhD outside Nigeria. Because CARTA believed that when you do PhD, you should not let your home suffer in one way or the other. Even during that program, I also experienced that many of the married CARTA fellows, about 3 of them had children during the period. And when we are having a program in Nigeria, just 3, they sponsor them with their spouses to come to Nigeria so that they can concentrate. So I see CARTA has really developed in me to have the mentality of gender equality, to run away from inequality. So as a result, I'm happy to be part of this. And even when I joined the University of Ibadan, most of my things, maybe in the classroom, I make sure that when I'm having a group, I make sure that there's a gender equality in my group. Equality is very, very important there. That everybody, if I have a male, I need to have a female. Even in the leadership, the class rep, a male and female. Everything I do in the classroom and also in the social life. So I'm happy to be part of this, and I'm here to share my experience. Thank you.
Marcelina, let me move on to a little slightly different topic. Was there a point in the CARTA program where you suddenly thought, hey, I'm seeing the world differently in terms of gender equality? Something that happened in the program that made you think, I didn't see things this way before.
Thank you, Sharon. I have 2 instances to share. First, in Nairobi, Kenya, when we came in as New Kids on the Block, cohort 6, a colleague of ours, I think I have permission to share her name, Tutu, recently had a baby, and her baby was about 2 weeks old. She came for the program with her baby and her mother, as caregiver. And that really struck a chord to me and in me. And I thought, what kind of program does this? Sponsor a caregiver and the baby. So she didn't have to truncate or end or terminate her PhD journey or desire because she had a baby. And for me, that was a big one and a big advantage of CARTA. The second one, which should have come first, was I was in a conference in 2013 in Cape Town, and at that program there was this debate about PhD and the fellowship. I'm a medical doctor, so I had been trying to apply for PhD, but the age cutoff was 40 years, and I discussed with someone. I said, aren't you aware about the CARTA PhD program? The entry cutoff point for a female is 45 years. And I said, wow, I had a serendipity moment then. I said, really? So I came to Nigeria, I started finding out about it, and I was like, 45 years? So in my 40s, in my early 40s, I registered for my PhD. And I had to come, speak to myself that I am not a medical doctor, a consultant on this program. I am a student. Mm-hmm. And I experienced and I loved the journey that way. I had some struggles initially because I had egos. I didn't really understand the gaps and why I needed to, do some certain things in a certain way, according to the CARTA way. But along the line, I think age factor was it for me, being the oldest in my cohort. It was a big issue for me. So I had to overcome that and bring myself down to the learning experience. And it was a wonderful journey for me. And we have such a strong cohort.
It's quite an interesting point you bring up there, because one of the issues that CARTA has tried us when we first began the program was to talk about this issue of hierarchy. And of course, there's a hierarchy around gender, which we were hoping to challenge. But you've brought up two other hierarchies in your conversation. The one is the hierarchy around disciplines. So often, I'm also a medical doctor, we are taught we're special. And there's a hierarchy where we think like we're special. And so while other people might have had to overcome gender hierarchies, you had to overcome, as you describe it, sort of like professional snobbery, maybe. Right. And also, you were older, so you knew more, and you had to overcome that. And we all experience that a lot in our culture. This idea that age is what. I mean, age does give you wisdom, of course it does, but there are many wisdoms, and there isn't one wisdom that is a better kind of wisdom than another. So it's interesting, and I think it's important, because when we speak of gender equality, for me, it's inside the framework of a human rights framework and of equity across many borders and across many inequalities. I think that's quite important. And for me as a white South African, that's also an important issue. We come from a very unequal past and a present that's still very unequal. So that's an interesting thing that you brought up. John, did you have any aha moments during CARTA where something really clicked for you around gender?
Yes. First, just to look at the application, when they were saying that, okay, 40, less than 40 for male and 45 for female. Before that, I said, why the difference? Actually, I was less than 40, highly qualified. But later when I joined CARTA, I knew that, truly speaking, because of some background, let's say cultural background, and also maybe childbearing, male and female are not apart in terms of the progress. Because, for example, as a male, I can go do anything I want to do, travel, but female, they need to have a child and they'll be at home. But when I got to CARTA, I discovered that CARTA is trying to bridge the gap, and which they really did. And more so in my class, my cohort, we have more female than male. You know, that also, I just felt that why? You know, as a traditional African man, you know, that is not really, you know, I've not had the opportunity even to travel out of my country before I joined CARTA. So meeting people from different backgrounds and also more female, I felt, why should we be female dominating, you know? But at the end, before I end the end of the CARTA, I had different perspective about that we're all equal and we should give female child or female generally equal opportunity to move like male. Then not only that, my own background, I'm not in medical background. We have a lot of medical doctors, you know, but I'm from information science. You know, first I felt somehow, oh, can I cope with these people? And as you said, we always see medical doctors to be higher, you know, in terms of the years they spent on campus and so on. But at the end, CARTA, you know, is a leveler. You know, we don't call anybody doctor or professor. We call by name. You know, Professor Sharon, no, say Sharon. Even my professor in Ibadan, who we highly respected, Akinyinka Omigbodun, I see other people say, Akinyinka, you know, I felt somehow. But at the end, we know that it's just a leveler so that we can feel the same, so that we can learn together. So CARTA really gave me a better perspective that is not entitled, but what can you offer? And again, title is more, it's not that important, you know, Ayo Alonge, not Dr. Ayo Alonge, you know, it's more comfortable for me. You know, I learned that in CARTA, equality is very, very important, and it will allow you to learn, you know, with open mind. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. I just want to point out to everyone who's listening that I was quite anxious about running this because I don't know what people are going to answer. And for those of us who developed the curriculum, there were things that we thought hard about how do you teach in a way that raises issues around inequality. And it could be that people would say to me, oh, well, John said, well, actually, I really hated being in a women's only group. So I haven't coached anybody on the answers. It's a test for those of us who did develop the curriculum to find out if it did have the effect that we thought it was having or that we intended it to have. Rose, to carry on a different question, has it changed your professional life in any way? Having been a woman graduate and having a PhD, has it changed in your professional life?
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. Yes, I must say that the rigorous CARTA PhD fellowship did not only mold me into a competent, confident, exposed, and courageous person in handling research-related activities, but it also taught me to be always alert and check on female graduate students who might be struggling to complete their studies. In our department at the School of, at the Department of Public and Global Health, we admit mature students. And a number of them have families and they're also employed. Now, they come into the program with some issues beyond their control that only need a special listening ear and a crying shoulder. I have time for that nonsense, and I always do it wholeheartedly, to the point that some of my colleagues, actually, they nicknamed me the mother of MPH students. So whenever somebody has a problem in the corridor, they tell them, go look for your mother, Rosopio is there. She should be able to address the problem. And so I enjoy doing that. And you know how I have been also pushing for mentorship to be included in the CARTA supervisors training program. I would love to see that actually go through. And I may not be an expert to handle that or to do anything about it, but my joy would just to see it in the training curriculum for the supervisors, so that the students, a number of times, students are not only struggling to complete the PhD, but there are so many confounding factors that really make them not be able to complete. So I would be happy to see that go through. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rose. Perhaps just to the rest of the audience, that one of the ambitions of CARTA was that our graduates would start to be the teachers of the jazzers, and that has all happened. And at the moment, we are busy getting our curriculum ready to put on the web and share, so that other people who want to implement it can. And Rose has been part of the group that is looking at the supervisor's curriculum, which is what she was referring to there. And so it's been very exciting to see our graduates becoming teachers and mainly replacing us, which is exactly what CARTA is about. It's about the next generation. And so we're delighted to see that. Marcelina, do you think that when you reflect over the last while, that there are things in your work environment? So there are a lot of graduates actually from CARTA at OAU. And do you think that they've had an influence in the work environment? Have things changed? And is there any reason in your mind to say that CARTA has had an influence on the change that happened? Of course, many things make change. I'm not saying it's only CARTA.
Yes. Thank you, Sharon. There are lots of changes in our work environment. There's this special bond amongst CARTA fellows and graduates that also influences other colleagues at work. I want to be, they say, I want to be in this your CARTA program. And some of us even say, wow, this program, really opens your view, you to a lot of experiences. And then you are able to also step down the jazzes, some aspects of it, of the training at the departmental level to undergraduate and graduate. For me personally, something has changed is that no students under me that I supervise has a research without having an extensive literature review matrix. And that was one of the things I learned from SEO. Also, in my department, I guess it is, somebody told me something and said, it's actually your PhD journey that inspired me, not the destination. Because if it were the destination, I would just wouldn't get inspired until 2019 when you graduated. That for me, as she said, it's your PhD journey. Having to juggle a lot of balls along the way, motherhood, husband, and all of that. So that influenced her and some other people also, in that I can say something, Sharon, that I started on cohort 6, and after me, every other staff in my department is a CARTA fellow after me. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I see them hold seminars every now and then. They do this seminars on FGDs and all of the seminars, data analysis and all from the CARTA network and experiences. Not just that, in organizing seminars and workshops, I look at things with with a gender lens. How many men, how many males, how many females? Okay, do we have a female toilet, male toilet? Are we balanced? And like John said, who is the class rep? Do we have a deputy male? So having look at things with a gender lens is also part of the CARTA experience, and giving everybody an equal opportunity, no favoritism, because if there were favoritism, I wouldn't even be on the CARTA program itself. So those are the experiences that I've shared. And also we collaborate with each other. We network with each other, research, even beyond Nigeria, Africa, with other colleagues. So that's on its own. It has also influenced and shaped, a lot of transition and changes in the work environment. We also improve our work environment too. We don't wait for the university to do things for us. If there's power cuts, you get your inverter, get your gen, and continue your work, because there is no excuse in CARTA. Deadline is deadline, milestone is milestone. So for me, it's a lot of changes in the work experience and work environment. And I keep referencing CARTA. It's CARTA. It's just not me personally, it's CARTA. Okay, fine. If it was, I learned a lot of things through unconscious competence, according to my mentor says, but CARTA has streamlined some things, the way I do research, the way I select my team, the way I organize seminars, workshop, and the advice and input I give. It comes, very valuable. And sometimes I look back, 4 years back down the line, would I be the same person I am today? I asked myself, and I think I have changed, and a lot of us can speak to that as well.
John, was there anything in the structuring of the teaching? So we've spoken quite a lot about giving women an opportunity, raising the age at which women could come in, because they're having children. They often reach the possibility of doing a PhD when they're older. But in terms of the content of the way you looked at things, did anything change in the way you thought about doing your PhD? Or did you include in any way a gender lens? Did the way you conceptualized your question, the way you analyzed your data, did that have any different dimension because of something around gender that you'd learned during CARTA?
Of course. The CARTA journey, or my PhD journey, has really done a lot of changes about my perspective about gender, and also to care more for deprived gender, which is the female, in terms of education. For example, when I did my PhD work, I was able to do a kind of comparison of the use of social media among the ladies or the female students and male students. If I've not gone through CARTA, I may just look at students generally. So I want to see a female student really using social media more than male students. Not only that, even, I don't know, it's somehow by coincidence anyway, the first PhD student I have is a lady. And even I have 2 of them now, 2 ladies, PhD students. And the perspective, how I handle them, I don't see them really as female. I see them as that you can do what I can do. It is possible, and I sit them down, let's discuss. And one of them is married, the other one is not married. Don't allow marriage to deprive you in getting this. As a result, because I know that as a female, you have children, you have husband to take care of, I've been looking for opportunities to maybe the person can get into CARTA, because one of them is a university staff, another person looking for other grants, because I can see the impact or the benefit of having grants or a scholarship than not having scholarship and doing PhD. The difference is the gap is so wide, because if you have a scholarship, it makes things easier for you because you have enough fund, to move around, to do your research. So, and for example, one of them is doing something on substance use, drug abuse. And I told the person, the lady was looking at on maybe male. I said, no, not only male that are doing drug abuse. Because some people, when they say the gender, they will think maybe you just want to protect ladies alone or female gender alone. No, it should be equal. Don't say that, because it's drug abuse, let me focus on male alone. No, you look at male and look at female. And coincidentally, the second one is working on maternal health, looking at maternal health, So through that, we are saying, many people are dying, because of pregnancy, even many children are dying after this. So let's look at how they can use Nollywood movie. And this time around, we focus on women. And I told her again that don't even look at ladies alone, the pregnant women alone. What of the husband? How are they supporting? the watching pattern of a Nollywood movie, how is it supporting, how is it affecting them to support their pregnant women? So everything I do now, I look at both sides. I use that lens of both of gender equality. You know, don't say that, oh, it's only for female. No, it's only for male. We can be equal, you know, in terms of rating, looking at the perspective of male and female together. So, and again, because of the experience I had in CARTA, that I spent only 3 years on my PhD. And it's because I got a lot of support from CARTA, and CARTA also trained my supervisors, you know, to be able to sit me down in the beginning, plan your work. So my PhD student now, what I do is that I have a pre-writing meeting with them, sit them down, give them opportunity to have a grand chat, a chat. What is your plan for the next 3 years? What do you want to achieve? So I serve as like a coach for them, trying to watch them. Are you achieving this goal? If you're not achieving, why are you not achieving the goals? Is it your husband not giving you support, or your children are disturbing you? So CARTA gave me opportunity to see my students, you know, in a better way, and also to give support to them. Not just go and be writing. I guide them from the beginning. So thank you very much.
I see that there's some questions in the question and answer session. I did start off describing what CARTA is about, but please have a look at our website where you'll see more about it, because I'm not going to repeat it now. And I'll put our website in the answer session. Actually, Gloria, would you do that? Just put it both in the chat and in the question and answer session, and you can go and have a look there, a bit more detail about CARTA. If anyone from the audience wants to, I saw that one person had raised their hand. If you want to ask a question or contribute, please feel free to raise your hand, and Gloria would like to, Gloria will alert me to let you in. So the question someone asked, who said that they're not a CARTA affiliate, and they want to know how we try, thanks, there's the website address that Gloria's just posted in the chat, how and why we motivate others to get through these difficult circumstances. Rose, you've already given an example of being a responsive lecturer, being someone who will listen to people's problems that are inhibiting them. Have you had experiences where there are what we call structural barriers, particularly for women, that you've had to deal with for students who've had problems because of the gender roles they have to play? And have you been able to help them?
Is the question for me?
It was for Rose, but if you've got an answer, John, you're welcome to go ahead.
Oh, there's one I do after COVID-19, you know, the school resumed. There's a particular lady that had a baby, you know, a week before the school resumption, and he has an operation. She had an operation. So we had a first test. She couldn't write the test. So I had to conduct another test for that lady, because though I'm not a lady, I have a wife, you know, who was also going through a program when she was pregnant. I put that situation, I empathize with her, and I was able to conduct exam for her. So at the end, even after everything, when the exam comes, you know, she said that the baby had a problem, you know, and they were in the hospital. She couldn't attend the final class. I had to invite her and some other people that missed the tutorial to come to my office, and I was able to give them tutorial. I wouldn't have done this if I have not passed through CARTA, because I won't put that feeling. I just went, what is wrong with you? You know, come to class. But because of what I learned in CARTA, I was able to have a human feeling and also have a kind of gender equality spirit or mind, and invite these people and give a kind of extra length to be able to solve the problem for them. And at the end, when I saw the result, the lady performed very well. At the end, the lady that had issue, she performed very well. no carryover, and she did well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Rose, anything you wanted to add about specific experiences you'd had that were gendered in nature and how you dealt with them?
Thank you very much, Sharon. I've not had any problem to address that is gender related within the work environment. However, I would like to look at these from a slightly different perspective, in the fact that even if we address the gender related issues within our work environment, the structural issues, we must not forget that there are those family and societal expectations that are very difficult to address. Look at this example, for example. Myself and John, we've just got our feedback from on our thesis from our supervisors, and we're just walking out of the supervisor's office. And as we leave the supervisor's office, John goes straight to the library and settles down and starts working on his revisions. And for me, I'm thinking about going home, getting home, because the children are just about to arrive from school. And as John settles straight in the library and starts working, I reach home and immediately I receive a call from school. Just like the case you've had for Stephen. I receive a call from school. The teacher is telling me that my child, while he was running to get into the bus, got injured and has been taken to the hospital. Can I quickly follow up? So do I then prioritize sitting down on my thesis or running to go and check on my child? So I quickly throw my laptop and books on the couch and rush to the hospital. The child is attended to and we drive home. But on the way home, the traffic jam is very, very heavy. And so I spent 2 to 3 hours longer. And yet I had left the supervisor's office early enough so that I can get home, settle on my PhD work and quickly finish. Now I get home late, dinner has to be fixed, the other child's homework has to be supervised. My husband comes home late, he expects dinner and attention, and I have 2 classes tomorrow to teach, I've not prepared, and the list is endless. Meanwhile, John is still in the library and he's going to sit in the library until the library closes at 10. He then goes home, takes a shower, takes dinner, and continues working for 2 more hours or so. Surely, Sharon, you expect me and John to submit the revised work to the supervisors the same time and graduate? I think we need to find a way of addressing some of these issues so that we can be able to support our female PhD candidates. Thank you.
And Rose, what do you think needs to be done?
I don't know. That's why I'm throwing the question. That's why I'm throwing the question. I went through these several times. I had a lot of this, but for me, because I was focused, then I had to work those extra hours, stay late whenever possible, start early where possible, but I had a focus and I knew I had to finish my PhD within 48 hours, 48 months, which I did. So I think the CARTA program really need to think, as you think about these structural environmental issues that affect the women, think about how do we go around these others? Well, one way I try as much as possible is to mentor, to talk to the students, give them a crying shoulder. And I really understand that they go through this. And so I talk to them as much as possible, and that talk sometimes helps. And they're able to wake up and continue. Thank you.
I think also what's interesting, and one of the responses about how we deal with this is the exact example we have of why Stephen Wandera is not part of the talk today. He was supposed to be a panelist, but in fact his child's ill and he's gone to take the child, to look after the child, not the child's mother. And that's one of the ways that I've seen, one of the ways that we can change some of the structural things. It's not that a mother's a mother and a father's a father, but they are both parents. and anyone can parent. Some of us are uncles or aunts to children, and we parent those children. So I suppose that is one way, Rose. Marcelina or John, did you find that your at home things had changed? Your husband, the young boys in your family, your fathers, did they have anything did they look at you differently? Did they think you were wrong or right about certain things you did? Marcelina, I'll go to you first because you're nodding, and I'll come to you, John, afterwards.
Thank you so much, Sharon. During my PhD journey, a few things changed. I had to tell my husband, who was then the provost, very busy, that please free me from Saturday social engagements. I need Saturday to, get my sanity and get myself, hang out with the children and cook for the week, especially stews, tidy up work that needs to be done on my PhD. And after some time, he gave me, and I also went ahead, I said, please, I'll be coming home later. So when the kids come back from school, I go home, sort them out, and I leave the house 7:38, about their bedtime. After we've prayed, I come back to the office, and like Rose, my car is the last to leave the College of Health Sciences. And I did this for years, not just to catch up on CARTA work. I also needed to write papers for my promotion. Otherwise, something will give. And I know I'll be happier if I juggle these balls together and, do what I have to do when I need to do it. This also helped me in 2018. Sharon, I lost my parents within 3 months of each other. I didn't know how to. My mom was ill for about 4 months before then. And then it was all due to cancer. I was depressed. I was confused. I didn't know what to do. But the advantage of CARTA was so overbearing in the fact that the CARTA PhD journey is not a lonely one. My colleagues in cohort 6, facilitators, everybody, were all supportive. Then, including the SEO team and all of that, because I kept on asking for permission to submit, give me 1 week, give me 2 weeks, and all of that. I think I negotiated that, terms and conditions perfectly well because I didn't have backlogs. If I had had backlogs and, when my environment at home was not supportive, I would have crashed and I would have probably, fallen out of the way. And my PhD would not have fallen through as it did. So for me, that is it. The one thing I would like to talk to about CARTA helping females is, or even males, is that protected time away from work. Maybe a month after or before your defense, you want to tidy up your document, your PhD research thesis. You need that protected time away from the house, because with that, the JASs offer, but the JASs are tight and you don't want to miss anything. You don't want to miss the facilitation and every other task. So apart from the JASs, protected time away from work helps. Our husbands then will find out that they can do some things that they ordinarily don't.
So it's interesting what you've said, that male behavior too can change. And then there's some conversation in the chat where people are saying, well, men also have issues. And John, one of the people in the chat have actually asked you, do you think you had challenges that were because of your male gender that women didn't have to face?
Please come again with that question. I can't, I just get
So, yeah, you probably can't see it. So one of the people in the chat has asked, people are asking here for balance, and I'm going to come back to the question of balance. But one of the questions that they asked was, did you, John, because you're a man, so we've spoken a lot about the responsibilities that women have, that men don't have, and how it's been difficult for them to deal with it, and that CARTA has managed to alleviate some of it in some ways. They're asking, as a male, from your perspective, do men have particular issues that women don't have that you had to deal with?
Okay, thank you very much. First, I would say that the issues or the problem the female gender faces are far more than that of male, you know. But we also face us also, especially when you study outside home and you don't have opportunity to bring your family, you know. For example, you miss them, you won't be with them, your children are there. And again, if you are a very responsible husband, you have that feeling that it seems your wife is doing everything, doing the work of a man, you know, driving around, you know, and also trying to take care of the children, and she has a job as well. I will use my case as a very good example. When I was away, Qatar gives me only one flight in a year. I had to go extra mile to make sure that I come to Nigeria twice in a year, you know, because I know that my family will miss me. My children are growing up, they are small, and they need the father. So the problem there is that they need father figure at home. And again, I make sure that I put everything in place. That was the time somebody called me, oh, your wife has issue with the car, you know, going to office with the children. When I returned home that December, I had to struggle, put things together. I make sure I change the car so that she has better car, so that not the car that will be having problem on the road. So I put that in place. I mean, in place when I was having my PhD. And my own case that time also, my wife also during that period, she got a scholarship. She was doing a master program in the UK. They're on distant learning. So they only go, they travel just once, maybe twice. I make sure that during that period, though it may not be convenient, I travel back home so I can stay with the family so that she can travel for about a month. She will travel about a month, about twice. So which we have our issue of not being with our family and so on. Then again, I would like to respond to Rose's scenario she gave. Sincerely, that is the issue. We male, we can just move around, we can sit in the library for hours, get home 9, I still do that, 9 p.m. But we need to also to be responsible husbands, that when your wife also needs to travel or needs concentration, be available, be there. So I can change role, that should be change role. African men may think, oh, why should I need to go to the kitchen and cook? Or to drive the children to school? We need to do that. I do that. Now, after the headmasters and my wife is planning to do PhD, I told her, wherever you want to go, go. I've done mine. I will be at home to be a mother and also a father to my children. So that's the reason why when I return to Nigeria, I make sure that I develop an advocacy of encouraging young men to be responsible men. Don't say, oh, my wife will do everything. Because I've gone through in the East Africa, even in Nigeria, I discovered that men are not responsible. Again, they want women to do everything. But here in Nigeria, even in Kenya, I saw that also in Nigeria. As a result, women are the ones doing everything, trying to go to office, pay house rent and so on, while some men are now lazy. So many of the young men that I'm closer to in my department, in my university, I encourage them. Try to work hard, be a responsible man. Don't say that, oh, I just need to get a wife and do whatever I want. So I am an advocate of developing or growing a responsible young man. Also, that one also get to my home. I have 3 kids, a boy and 2 girls. I make sure that the boy also do the same thing that the girls are doing. It's not only ladies that will go to wash plates. A man can also wash plates. A man can also cook in the kitchen. So I'm not having the kind of double way of dealing with them. They must be treated equal, and we should educate young men from primary school how they can be a responsible father in future. Thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing that with us, John. I mean, I think it's true that you know, while men do have the privilege of moving around, it can induce some guilt, as you described, where you said, well, actually, I had to work harder to make sure that I could make up for being away. I have a friend, he is an outstanding academic, and he could be anybody, anywhere. And he has been very successful, and he could have a job anywhere in the world. And for the first, I think he must be in his 50 something, maybe, or so. I don't know his exact age. But he turned around to his wife and he said to her, I've had every advantage and you have supported me. What do you want to do now? And I believe that he made a compromise when he said to her, you choose. It's a very impressive decision to take. I think one of the things that we all have to recognize is that the PhD journey itself is hard. It's hard for no matter who you are, a man or a woman, young or old. So it's not to say that everyone doesn't need help and support and understanding. But I think what we talk about when we talk about gendered inequalities or any inequalities, and let me talk from a South African perspective. You know, in South Africa, we have rules about where you purchase from, procurement. And you have to have now what we call BEE, Black Economic Empowerment credentials, which means that at least in some way, and of course some people cheat, and I'm not talking about that, in some way, it's not only white people who are getting the contracts, who are getting the jobs, or white-owned businesses. And you know, there are two ways of looking at that. Okay, we've had 20 years since the end of apartheid. Now we must stop that. My answer is different. My answer is that structural inequalities have very deep roots. They have gone on for a very long time, and it takes a long time to correct them. And so I think that we can't say, okay, now the world's equal. Now the world might be more equal, but Black people in South Africa have been disadvantaged for so long that they start behind where I would start. And so I think that that's what we mean about looking at structural inequalities. If you have been disadvantaged for generations, it takes a long time to catch up. And if we want a more equal world, you know, the Sustainable Development Goals, the motto, leave no one behind. We have to actually make changes in our own advantage, give other people some of their advantage. And it's been interesting in the chat. A lot of people have made the comment, yes, you're right, you're speaking for me. I feel that I haven't had the kind of, I've been held back because I've been a mom, or my husband hasn't supported me. And other people have said, yes, but men also have problems, and that's absolutely true. But structural inequality, things like if you're poor, you're going to carry that poverty into the next generation in different ways. I was the first person at in my family to go to university. And I used to be very shy to invite people to my house, because when I went to their houses, people from at university, they had lots of books in their houses, and we didn't. We had one set of encyclopedia, the Collins Encyclopedia. I'm sure a door-to-door salesman came and sold it to my parents. So reading and having access to books and knowing that knowledge was there for me to find was different to their experience. And it doesn't get better in a generation. So that's why when we talk about redressing inequality, it isn't about treating everyone equally all the time. Sometimes it's about trying to fix up some of the past inequalities. And sometimes people feel that that's not fair. But fairness isn't about that we all get the same thing all the time, because we don't all need the same thing all the time. So I feel that, and in fact, there's someone on this call who's running a women's-led NGO, and there's another one who has got a tool to measure gender inequality. And I hope that people on the chat will connect with each other and talk about those kinds of things. Marcelina, everyone in CARTA, part of the CARTA program, and people have asked this in the chat, how are you helping people who aren't CARTA graduates? In fact, I think you have answered this already, but I don't think what you were saying was necessarily clear to everyone who was listening. Everyone in CARTA is told, take something from CARTA that you found valuable and take it to your home institution. What's something you took home to your home institution that would benefit people who weren't CARTA graduates?
Thank you, Sharon. During my PhD journey, I was involved in, stepping down the JAZs, like I said, and that in particular to resident doctors who are, about doing their research in their, the final laps of their fellowships. And for me, like I said, literature review metrics and helping them, be better researchers is what I do. I also encourage them, those who are not in the CARTA program, who are in the MPH program, I recruit them on my projects and grants. We come together, we publish together. When I looked at the list of my publications, I saw that I really worked a lot with resident doctors and my MPH students that I supervise, to the point of publication. I say to them, it will be a waste of effort for me as a supervisor if you did all this and we didn't publish. So please make sure that you publish. Also, my undergraduate students I supervise, they always also drop a copy of a manuscript version of their thesis. It's a bit cumbersome and all of that for them, but at the end of it, I probably give some of them slips. I say, please evaluate me. Don't write your names. Evaluate your experience with me. And many of them start off by saying it was tedious, but at the end of the day, it pays off. And I said, you know what? You have the liberty of asking me to write your reference anywhere I am. It will be my priority because you worked with me. And I find so much joy and value when I write their references and I found out that they've published. I also include that. Oh, they were able to publish their undergraduate thesis, their postgraduate thesis. It gives me a lot of joy. That way, I have worked with that person and I know their work ethics. For me, that's a big CARTA experience that I took with me.
So there's a discussion going on the chat. Rose, was it the case that you were scared to apply for your PhD? Someone was saying, how do you overcome your fear of even applying to be a PhD student? Did you have any fear, Rose? And how did you overcome that if you did?
Thank you very much, Sharon. Sorry, I didn't have any fear of registering for a PhD. I didn't have any fear because remember I said right at the beginning, my childhood experience helped me have that focus to do a PhD. So I didn't have any fear. Thank you.
All right. John, Marcelina, were you, either of you, scared to apply for a PhD?
I was.
And?
I was scared. because when I got to the social sciences while they were doing the CARTA pre-application seminars that they do, I said, what kind of seminar do we have to do before we write an application for a PhD? It was, for me, they said it was a motivational essay. It has to be this, that, be that. So I was initially scared. I was like, is it for me? Do I really need this PhD? I hate to engage in something that I don't follow through, that I don't finish and complete. For me, it was a fear of pulling out or not being enough or not doing enough for me. And initially I had issues with location. Should I choose outside Nigeria or within Nigeria? And looking at my workload, the balls I juggle and all of that. Those were, for me, I had to make those decisions, but I overcame my fears eventually, because I had this fear because I was a female, I was a woman, because I'm woman, and I have family, I have responsibilities, and I have parents also who are dependent. My mother had cancer. I had to travel often to Lagos to see her, tend to her. Sometimes she'll be on chemo. I have to be there to help in the health system, because when you're not there, things don't really get done as you would like it to. So eventually I was able to overcome all of that. So for me, it was a fear of starting.
Fear of starting. John, did you have any fear about just the PhD journey?
Oh, well, for me, I don't have any fear. The only fear I had that time was the funding, because I grew up in a community that has a lot of PhD and professors. So since that time, I had in mind that, I want to join in this line. Even I had to leave a well-paying job so that I can start a PhD in Ibadan. So like CARTA was a kind of blessing for me when I resigned a well-paying job to take a lesser job in terms of a payment. And immediately I got CARTA, and I said that, to myself, instead of me staying in Nigeria, let me take opportunity to live and concentrate. Within 3 years, and I returned to Nigeria after that. So it was not, I didn't have any fear. And I only had a fear of a kind of how will I get the fund to do this? The CARTA came in, and I was able to have a smooth journey in terms of the facilities, resources, and also the training that CARTA provided for me during the 4 years fellowship. Yeah, I must give thanks to CARTA for this. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other, I wanted to just reflect on some of the points that have come up on the chat and in the question and answer session. I think there was one point that Kennedy Otwombe has contributed, and he said that there are externalities that have also changed the way we see the world and live, and that COVID and working at home has really pushed our understanding of the amount of work that is done in the home and that is required. He mentioned that fathers are around now and they stay longer with children. They see what goes on, the care they need, but I suspect you also see something else, which is a closer relationship with your child, your children. But these are big, there are big upheavals happening in society. And these raise, one of the things I always say about COVID is that one of the things is that it has exposed inequalities, many inequalities. We just have to look at the vaccination rate in Africa as a whole, compared to Europe and America, for example. But these also challenge us to be, who am I in the world? And they're quite important questions. There have been a lot of questions around, well, we're not part of CARTA, and how do we get the same advantages? So I want to tell you, I want to share my screen again. And I just want to show you a few things that I think is important to realize. And I want to go to this slide over here. we looked in sorry, I'm just getting all the chats out of my face. We actually looked at gender issues in CARTA and how well we'd done. And one of the CARTA fellows, in fact, is the first author on this. And it's published in Global Health Action. And just to make clear the kinds of things that CARTA did or didn't do, is we had very practical interventions, and you've heard about them. The age cutoff, and the age cutoff specifically is looking at the fact that your childbearing age is at a younger age. And so, oh, this is the wrong slide. And so you can only, if you're going to be having a child, you've got to take time off. You have that child. And the child care responsibilities limit women's mobility. So what we did was that we wanted people to be able to register at any university, and so we paid extra. And when they came for the jazzes, we paid for the child to come and a childminder. And that was an important thing to do to allow women to continue. And we have many CARTA babies. And 1 year, actually, it was the women in the group who said, you always talk about the CARTA babies that women CARTA graduates have. And they did a whole ceremony to celebrate the fathers who had given birth that year. And in fact, they clubbed together and bought presents that these fathers could take home. We also, in the CARTA curriculum, have very explicit content on gender. And there are all sorts of things we've already spoken about, that we have particular teaching techniques and different pedagogic methods to try to raise issues around inequality, and gender inequality is one of them. We also invite critique. We let people argue with each other. We encourage our students to argue with us, the professors, the big deals. And as John's already told you, we really insist that people call us by their first name. John, you want to say something at this point?
Okay, well, I think that was a question that I was unable to also contribute. You didn't ask me the question, but I want to answer.
Okay.
Returning to Nigeria, to my university, I became a better person. For example, now I had the mentality a willingness to share experience and teach. My colleagues, whatever, because I love technology. So anything about technology, especially during COVID-19, I was involved in teaching my colleagues on how to use the technology better, during this period. And I must tell you, naturally, we Africans, let's say, we don't like sharing ideas. We want to keep it to ourselves.
Some Africans, John, not all Africans.
some, not, I won't say all, some people anyway, some generally, but I had a better perspective. Oh, let me share. The more I share, the better I learn. I learn more in sharing. So, come and see this technology. You can do it this way. You can use Telegram to teach and so on. So this made me, gave me opportunity to be able to lead ICT team in my faculty because of that. And again, I also need to speak briefly about CARTA supporting even after PhD. After my PhD, I also got a re-entry grant where I did something further on what I did during the PhD. And during COVID-19, I couldn't travel, and CARTA was able to say, oh, you can use this one to do another research. And I did a research on the chronicles of researchers in COVID-19. And I interviewed researchers across Africa. And at the end, to answer a question asked by that fellow, we discovered that COVID-19 brought families together. It brought a kind of a gender equality, whereby father and mother, they're at home, they work together, to understand, the father understand the home better, staying more than 8 hours at home. So from my research, I discovered that, and it was great. It was great. And at the end, we encouraged that we should do more. COVID-19 has made us see that we can work from home. Let's work from home so I can be with the family. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. That's very interesting. I Then here I want to just show you some of the other things. We also had soft interventions. And in one of those, for example, we had, we cooked a meal together, and the men had to cook the main part of the meal. And this is Afalabi cooking lunch for everybody. And as you can see, people brought their babies, and at lunchtime, the babies would come in and join us. So there were lots of different ways that CARTA tried very consciously to think about how to surface gendered issues in the environment. And if you go back to theory, Caroline Moses introduced a theory of what she called practical interventions can lead to strategic change. So what happened in the childminders is that that's just a practical intervention. We said, here's money. If you've got a young child, you can bring your child and a childminder. And what was interesting is that it was not only once, it was more than once, that a husband came as the childminder. And it challenged for them, the gender norms, the same kind of thing John has just contributed to us around how COVID has challenged gender norms and that people are now doing things differently. We have a lot of women who win grants and they become role models. And I think a lot of what Rose has spoken about has been about role models and how role models can make people persevere. And a lot of the women in CARTA, again, are role models because they've been promoted into leadership positions. And I think what's interesting in what John just said is he said, because he shared more, he became the team leader. So sharing isn't about giving something away. Sharing can actually be drawing something to yourself as an advantage. So just want to show you one thing is that we still do have some way to go. And this is the publication output. We've got about 50-50. In fact, we've now got a few more women in the program. John said there were mainly more women in his cohort. Rose will tell you that most of the people in her cohort were men. But over the period of CARTA, we're at about a 52% women actually now, because I think women started to hear about the help that they got. And so women particularly came to CARTA. But if you look at the publication output, we have our fellows have been incredible. They're not all first authors on these papers, but they are authors on all these papers in peer-reviewed journals. So the men collectively have produced almost 1,300 papers, and the women just under 1,000. And the question is, how come men are still outproducing women? And certainly some of the answer is around gendered roles. So we do have some way to go. And then I am going to tell you one last thing, and then I'm going to ask each of our panelists to say a closing remark, whatever they'd like to share. People have said, I'm from Francophone Africa, can I apply? What CARTA is doing at the moment is a big drive, what we're calling institutionalization. So what we're doing at present is we are getting our curriculum and our program and the JAS agenda, the supervisors training program, the graduate workshop for postgrads, for postdocs. We're getting them written up, and we're going to have them on a website along with videos to show you how to do it. Marcelina mentioned SAO and how she learned to write better as an academic through that process. We've digitized that, and there's an online program. And during next year sometime, we're going to launch it. And what we're hoping is that other universities will take this up and be able to use some of it. The one part, it's mainly for lecturers, the curriculum part, but the SAO, the writing part, if you form a group of people in your institution, you can actually use that yourselves. And maybe one of the lecturers would help you through that process, but it tells you what to do and how to do it and how to critique and how to peer critique. So part of it is helping yourselves. And when that is available, we will make a big splash and try to make sure that everyone knows that it's available. That's the way that we're trying to reach out beyond just the CARTA universities. And at the moment, the African Population Health and Research Center, which houses the CARTA Secretariat, they have opened up an office in West Africa, in Senegal. And I know they are thinking through how to start working with French-speaking universities in French-speaking West Africa to try and see if we can do something like CARTA pour les Français. I'm sure I chose the wrong word. I'm sure the French-speaking people are laughing at me, but I did try. Rose, I'm going to hand over to you for a closing remark from you. And what would you like as the last thing people remember you saying on this conversation?
Thank you very much, Sharon, and everybody else who has been with us this afternoon. These are my last words or parting shot. One thing that I know is that for you to walk that PhD journey to the end, you yourself, as the applicant, as an individual, you must have focus and commitment that you really want to do that PhD. Because there's no way that you're going to have it smooth all the way. And so you need that focus and commitment. And then it's very important that there's also a gender-sensitive training environment to support you, adequate financial support. Because even though I had that urge to do my PhD, I took long because I was looking for the most appropriate financial support that would help me. And so when I came across the CARTA brochure, that day I stayed in the office until about 10 o'clock. And I said, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been waiting for. Then the other important thing is peer support and networking. My colleagues and the facilitators played a big role in my PhD. I did not walk it alone. They all supported me. My supervisors, they all supported me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rose, and thanks so much for participating today. John keeps dropping on and off. I think he's got an unstable internet. If he comes back on, I'll go straight to him. So Marcelina, oh no, here he is. John, let's give him a chance. Marcelina, your connection looks better. John, a parting comment or contribution from you?
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, everybody, for having me, and the CARTA Secretariat in particular. I just want to say that CARTA's intention about bridging the gender gap in our PhD program is laudable. And then also, for everyone, I would like to say that introduction of milestones and goal setting in our PhD journey is very important. I require that my students give me their timelines from start to approval of their seminars, to their topic proposals, to the ethical approval, to dissertation. This also helps the supervisor and the students keep track of milestones. And that works for everybody. Also people who are not in the CARTA program, male and female. Something I know about women, giving women more opportunity in education, bridging the gender gap, is that women have a redistributive agenda in whatever they do. If it's a PhD, they also help other people, give people the ideas. You can also do this if I'm doing this. A lot of people will lash onto this. And this benefits everybody. So women's redistributive agenda benefits everybody around her, from her house, household, to her workplace, to the community and the university environment generally. So giving women a chance benefits everybody globally. And also that we should also try to do things with a gender sensitive lens. It sparks a lot of debates. I heard, I saw a question that we haven't addressed on the platform, that what happens to the men who go for jazzes and their wife deliver, that they are lonely, they miss home, they miss their wives and their babies. So on the parting notes, I guess, Sharon, you would have to fill up that questions for the people who are interested in that. Thank you for having me today.
Thanks, Marcelina. John, a parting comment from you.
Okay, thank you very much. First, I want to appreciate the CARTA management for selecting me to be part of this discussion. And I want to emphasize also that CARTA has really done well. Looking at the other fellowship and maybe scholarship around the world, CARTA's fellowship is very unique. Apart from just giving you financial support, they as well giving you knowledge, trainings over 4 years. That's one. Not only that, even after PhD, the post-PhD support is superb. You have re-entry grants, which I've benefited. I was able to do a bigger research in Nigeria, brought a scholar from the US. It's a great one, because all this is empowering me to lead bigger research in future. Apart from that, they also give opportunity for postdoc opportunity. Many people yearn to get this. We had a program last week. Somebody was saying that it seems as postdoctoral program is political, that they only give to people that they know. That's a reference to you. See, John, if you want to do postdoc, it may be easy for you because you have the network. It's a network, it's not political. Because CARTA is a mentorship program, because apart from training us to become a PhD holders, they also follow, monitor, and support our growth. I must commend CARTA and APHRC for having this kind of program. And I wish more people can benefit from this. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, John. We all want more people to benefit from it. And as I told you in the beginning, we tell our CARTA graduates, getting a PhD is just a side effect. Your job is not to get a PhD. Your job is to give forward and give backwards, to take your learning and share your learning with others, to take approaches that are useful and share them with others. And I hope through the institutionalization project, more of you will have access to be able to do just that, because our aim, in fact, is to ensure that Africa develops, that Africa is producing outstanding research to improve public and population health in Africa by Africans. And with that, I'm going to thank you so much for joining us. The panelists, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. And for everyone, your comments in the chat and in the questions and answers. It's been an enormous privilege, although I must say I'm a bit anxious and have been sweating through this to make sure to keep it on track. Thank you for the support from the CARTA Secretariat. And I look forward to what the Secretariat will come up with next as another 100 graduates celebration. Thank you so much, everybody. Until next time.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Everybody. Thank you, Rose, John, CARTA Secretariat. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone. And this was really beautiful.